All right, so we're going to talk about arc length and sector area today. So let's jump right in. So arc length, I want you to think about like pizza. Okay, so arc length is like pizza. The actual arc length would just be the pizza crust. Okay, so the formula that we're going to use here is going to be S equals R times theta. All right, where S is the arc length, R is the radius, and theta is the angle, and the angle has to be in radians. Remember, that means it has to have pi with it, okay? So we're going to do the odd examples, and then you're going to try the even examples. So for this, we have S equals R times our theta, so 5 pi over 6, and that gives us 7.9, and then we need to include the unit with it, which is feet. All right? Then we have S equals 0.5 times our angle here, which is 3 pi over 2. And that gives us 2.4 yards. All right. Now, number 5 is a little different. Okay. So number 5 is in degrees, which means we're going to have to change it to radians. So just to remind you, to change it to radians, we have to multiply by pi over 180. So if we do that, and just to remind you, you use alpha y equals in your calculator, okay? Then all you do is type in 15 over 180. You want to leave the pi out because you want to leave pi in the answer. If you type 15 over 180 in your calculator, it should give you 1/12. So I just need to leave this as pi over 12. So when I go to plug this in my formula, I have 8 pi over 4 times pi over 12, which ends up giving me 2.2 and then meters. All right. Next one, I take 120 and I multiply by pi over 180. And I end up getting 2 pi over 3. So then when I plug this in, I have 1.8 times 2 pi over 3, which gives me 3.8. And then I have feet. All right, so you guys try the even ones now. All right, so if you tried the even ones and submitted your answers, then you should have gotten 11.4 inches for number 2, 39 yards for number 4. Then for number 6, you should have gotten 60.5 millimeters. And then for number 8, 58.9 kilometers. Okay, so let's try a word problem now. So let's say you have a central angle in a circle, and the radius is 6. All right, then you have an intercepted arc length of 10. So the arc length is actually 10, so that means that S is 10. So in this formula, S equals R theta, we have S, and we have R, but we have no idea what theta is, so we need to find it. So we divide by 6, and we end up getting that theta is either simplified 5 over 3, or if you divide that as an actual fraction to get a decimal, you're going to get 1.6666666, which you can just round to 1.7. And this is in terms of radians. This is the weird one where it didn't have pi in the final answer, but it is in terms of radians because that's what we use when we're using this formula. Okay. So for number 10, all right, we've got a merry-go-round that rotates 2,808 degrees. But we have to change that to radians. Okay, so once we've done that, you should get that is 78 pi over 5. And then when you plug that in, you get that the radius, which would be 8 feet, because if you're 8 feet from the center of the merry-go-round to the edge, that would be a radius of 8. And you get that you have traveled 392.1 feet. Okay, now number 11 is a little bit trickier. Okay, so this is saying that Cincinnati is directly north of Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, Cincinnati has a latitude of 39.1 and Atlanta has a latitude of 33.7. If the Earth has a radius of 33,960 miles, how far apart are these cities? So if you were to take a side view of the Earth, fun fact, it's not flat, so it would look something like this. Okay, where the radius is 3,960. Your latitude at Cincinnati would be 39.1, and your latitude at Atlanta would be 33.7. So here's the thing. You need the distance in those, the angle between those. So if you do 39.1 and you subtract 33.7, you should get 5.4 degrees. However, you still need to change that to radians. So you multiply by pi over 180, and you get that 5.4 over 180 should give you like 0.03. But if you were to change that back to a fraction, it would actually give you 3 over 100, and then you just tack on pi with it. All right, so then you have S equals R, all right, and it already told us that the radius was 3,960 times your angle, which here is 3 pi over 100. So you get that these cities are 373.2 miles apart. Okay? All right, so now let's talk about area of sectors. So if we're talking about pizza again, we're talking about the actual pizza itself, okay? So this shaded gray area. So the formula for this is A equals 1/2 theta r squared, okay? So if we're going to do an example, to find the area of the sector, we would still need this to be in radians. So we'd take 74, we multiply by pi over 180, and we end up getting that would be 37 pi over 90. So then when we go and plug this in the formula, we get 37 pi over 90 times our radius squared, which would be 4 squared. If we type all of this in the calculator, you should get 10.3. Our unit here is centimeters. However, this is area. And if you forgot from all your years and years of math before now, area is always units squared. So this would be centimeters squared. All right, I'm going to do number 14, and then you guys are going to try 13 and 15. So this one's great because it's already in radians. So all you have to do is plug it into your formula. And you have 7 squared. All right. So if you type all of this into your calculator, you should get 51.3. All right. And then your units are kilometers, but because it's area, squared. All right. So you guys try numbers 13 and 15. Ready, go. All right. So to check your answers, you should have gotten 224.4 feet squared. And you should have gotten 1,385.2 meters squared. All right. Hopefully you got those right. If not, go back and make sure that your work takes you to these answers. Okay. All right. And then number 16, the area of a sector of its circle, with a central angle of 240. So your angle is 240. All right. And then your area of that circle is 134. So your area is 134. We're looking for the radius. Now we still need to convert this to radians. So we end up getting that this is, let's see, that should be, sorry, I lost track of my work. Okay, 4 pi over 3. So if we plug this in, we know that area is 134. We get 134 equals 1/2 times our angle, 4 pi over 3, r squared. All right, now if we go ahead and multiply the 1/2 times 4 pi over 3 out, we get 2.1 r squared. And then if we divide by 2.1 on both sides, I'm going to continue the work up here, okay? You should get about 63.8 equals r squared. And then remember to undo squaring, you square both sides so that these cancel. So then you end up that r equals about 8 feet once you've rounded, okay? All right, and we're going to skip number 17. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and work on the practice. You are more than welcome to work on that alone with the person next to you or with the people at your table. You may not move to other tables. All right, ready, go.